Matthew 25 verses 1 until 13. Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish and 5 were wise. Those who were foolish when they took their lamps took no oil with them, but the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. Now while the bridegroom delayed, they all slumbered and slept. But at midnight there was a cry, Behold, the bridegroom is coming, come out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. The foolish said to the wise, Give us some of your oil, for our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, What if there isn't enough for us, and you go rather to those who sell and buy for yourselves? While they went away to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. Afterward, the other virgins also came, saying, Lord, Lord, open us. But he answered, Most certainly I tell you, I don't know you. Watch therefore, for you don't know the day nor the hour in which the Son of Man is coming. Humbleness, how statement, how conclusion. His light is sighted by our spirits when our mind is loyal towards Son's truth. Otherwise, we will inhale his words of judgment if we refuse to view his disfigured face, for which we must let his baptism to sanctify our spirits through the truth of his face. Humbleness, our main conclusion. Son's loyalty for Father's light is proven by his disfigured face, by which his spirit understands Father's will with all his mind, without which our spirits cannot receive his honorification, thus Son's spirit truth. Losing Son's face, the proclamation of his spirit righteousness, and lastly, his heavenly honor, for which our spirits must live through Son's light in the baptism of his face, by the loyalty of our minds, proclaiming his face of grace, that we may not lose his sighting and enter in his curses. Humbleness general conclusion. Son's word proclamation can glorify his bride body only if hers is committed to the life of his, and that can happen only if her soul is faithful to his path, that is his name calling, for which he reflects his face, citing the honor of her spirit only if hers is loyal to his truth. But her drive didn't let his commandments to polish her body through his word offering, because her wish didn't let his emissary to circumcise her soul through his name atonement, because her will didn't let his baptism to renew her spirit in the image of his face of grace. So he defended his body purity, hiding the polishing of his word, that her body be unaware to his return. He concealed his soul innocence by whispering the defamation of his name, that her soul be unresponsive to his calling. He covered his spirit righteousness by shadowing the disfiguration of his face, that her spirit be unvisible at his glorified revelation. Particularized conclusions. For those who have Semitic pathology, God's Decalogue is the righteousness of his body and the Redeemer of yours, that made Yeshua to be committed to Father's commandments, that you must manifest with your mouth through Son's cross proclamation to live in his word, because Father's mouth gives and gives as food his word embodiment, that you may keep yours, without which yours cannot remain in the life of Father's body, for which his Son lived with his body in Father's, to sanctify ours for his given glorification, for which Father polished his word only for those who are willing to eat from Son's cross, that their body would remain aware of Son's commandment, by eating from Son's bread of punishment, that is his crucified body, and the polishing of Father's word. For those who have Hamitic pathology, God's name proclamation is the righteousness of his soul and Redeemer of yours, that made Yeshua loyal to walk on Father's path, to offer his blood for our soul redemption, to call us on the righteousness of Father's name, because Father's heart gives and keeps us drink his name embodiment, that you may keep yours, without which yours cannot be loyal to his path, for which his Son lived with his soul on his Father path, that it may sanctify ours to glorify them, for which the Father targeted his name only for those who are willing to drink from Son's cup, that they would remain responsive to Son's name by drinking his wine of damnation, that is, his blood offering. For those who have Japhetic pathology, God's blessing citing is the righteousness of his Spirit and the Redeemer of yours, that made Yeshua faithful to remain in Father's truth, keeping the sighting of Father's face with the cost of disfiguring his, to justify yours. Because Father's mind gives and keeps us in Helen Son's Spirit, that you may keep yours, without which yours cannot be faithful to his light, for which his Son lived through the Father's Spirit, inhaling his word of judgment, that it may sanctify ours to glorify them, for which the Father reflected his face only for those who inhale Son's words of judgment, that they would remain watchful through Son's blessings, by breathing Son's fire of judgment, that is his breath of life. Generalized conclusion: God's bodily, soul, and spiritual righteousness are the source of his instinctual, emotional, and rational morality, or your maintainment code of conduct, through which he offers his redemption, or your repairment manual, manifested through Yeshua's crucifixion, that your body, soul, and spirit may be kept healthy, peaceful, and sane, without which your co-persons will self or co-destruct all at once, if in equilibrium of power, or the dominant one cannibalizing the others in her unawareness, unresponsiveness, or ignorance, feeding, drinking, or inhaling against fathers and sons' morality, such in the case of the three great general pathologies mentioned above, for which, if all of them are in balance of power, struggle to let Yeshua rise his righteousness in all of them at once; if otherwise, struggle to let Yeshua to rise his righteousness in the dominant one, without neglecting the others, that you may become one with him in all his Trinity, so that he may not only present you to his Father, but also offer you residence in his and Father's glorified presence. Personal advice that's also a warning: do not consider yourself more powerful, better, or smarter than God. Don't try to balance your instinctual, emotional, or rational morality by natural means, nor to destroy the fragile balance that you already have, which is your case. Yeshua already done his part. He likes to conserve your diversity. What is your biggest downside? Dominant, co-person, ignorance, or of them all together? He can make out of it your greatest advantage by transforming it into the co-redeemer of the others. As far as we can see, this love story is more like a tango dance with your future bridegroom Yeshua. It starts with a dim sighting of his will in our eyes to see his face, followed by whispering of his wish in our ear to know his name, then abruptly turns his face in opposite directions, followed by stepping on each other's words to feel his drive. If mastered, you will enter in synchronized relationship. You will learn to listen his slightest whispers, so that when you will not see his face, even if he's near to yours, you will still know what paths to follow, and then you will be able to clearly discern the changing of his facial features, so that you may predict the paths that he had chosen for you, so that you may not step on his drive.